Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission, as always, is to cut through the noise, sift through all the info out there, and bring you the most, well, compelling, surprising, and essential bits of knowledge. Today, we're really going deep, not just scratching the surface. We're taking a truly immersive journey into a world of traditional textiles. It's ancient, but it's also modern. It's practical, but also pretty profound. We're talking about Gabbeh rugs, our goal, to give you a genuine shortcut, really, to becoming familiar with these captivating pieces of art. We want you to understand their rich nomadic history, appreciate their unique place in the huge world of Persian carpets, and maybe even figure out how to bring one into your own home.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here is that the deep dive we're embarking on today, it really goes beyond just, interior design. It's a voyage, really, into the heart of culture, craftsmanship, and a connection to traditions that have, well, they've lasted for centuries. We're going to explore the essence of what makes Gabbeh rugs more than just, something you put on the floor. We'll trace their story from their rustic, kind of humble origins, see how they evolved, all the way to their striking modern interpretations and how they can fit actually quite seamlessly into a contemporary living space. We've gathered a good stack of sources that really delve into their history, their characteristics. They explain the meticulous, very hands-on process of how they're made and, crucially, arm you with the knowledge to spot an authentic one so you can truly grasp their value.
Okay, so let's kick things off right at the start. The name itself, Gabbeh. What does that actually mean? It's one of those words that immediately gives you a feel for the rug, like a little hint from the past. It comes from the Persian Gabbeh, or ish, which translates to ideas like raw, natural, maybe even uncut. Just think about that for a second. Raw, natural, uncut. Doesn't that just paint a picture? Something wonderfully unrefined, authentic, kind of primitive maybe, but with this charm, and a real sense of comfort. And if you dig into some regional dialects, you find it's also called Qashqai in Bakhtiari. That literally means bear's cub. That's quite an image, isn't it? A young bear, maybe a bit clumsy, but definitely sturdy, soft, warm. It immediately suggests something coarse, substantial, but also, well, deeply comforting and protective. And historically, their main job wasn't just looking nice. They were primarily sleeping rugs. Just imagine the comfort, the necessity of settling down on one of these after a long day herding sheep across those landscapes, under the stars in the Zagros Mountains. They were like the ultimate cozy companion in a life that was always moving, providing warmth, a soft base, wherever they went.
Exactly. And if we connect that name and the original purpose to the bigger picture, it really shines a light on their basic characteristics and design. Gabbeh rugs are fundamentally hand-woven pile rugs. Now, when we say pile, we mean those upright loops or strands of yarn that make the soft top surface not flat like a kilim. They are known for their coarse quality. And it's important to understand what that means. It doesn't mean low quality, not at all. It refers more to their rustic aesthetic, the thick, maybe slightly irregular wool, the simpler, larger knots. They usually come in a medium size, often around, say, 90 by 150 centimeters, roughly 3 by 5 feet, though you definitely find variations. That size was practical, right? Easy to move, easy to use in a nomadic tent. But of course, modern demand means you can find bigger ones now, too. But their most distinctive visual feature, that has to be their abstract design. This is where Gabbehs really stand apart from many other Persian carpets, with their complex patterns and medallions. Instead of all that intricate detail, Gabbeh designs often rely on these big open fields of solid color, almost like a painter's canvas. And within these color fields, you find this playful, almost whimsical geometry. They often feature just a few decorative objects, mostly rectangular or blocky and very stylized. You might see shapes that hint at animals, a goat, maybe a bird, or simple, almost childlike human figures, or even simplified scenes from daily life like a shepherd or a tent. They're not literal pictures, more like symbols, suggestions, letting the weaver's own story come through. But what really sets a Gabbeh apart visually and to the touch is how thick and coarse it is compared to other Persian carpets. I mean, the pile depth here, it's not just a bit fluffy. These rugs can be an inch thick, even 2.5 centimeters. That's incredibly substantial. Imagine sinking your feet into that. It's wonderfully dense, yielding almost like a cloud made of wool. And this isn't just about luxury for your home. It directly reflects their original purpose. That incredible thickness provided vital insulation against the cold ground in the mountains, a thermal barrier. It was their practical thick skin. And here's a really interesting point that helps define them. One source we looked at notes they are more a variety of kilim than carpet. Now that might sound a bit technical, but it speaks to their essence. A kilim, remember, is flat woven, no pile. The design is in the weave itself. Traditional Persian carpets have that knotted pile. The Gabbeh kind of bridges that gap. It does have a pile, a very thick one, but it's raw simplicity, the often larger, maybe looser knots, sometimes even how the ends are finished. It shares this fundamental, less ornate spirit with kilums. It suggests a more, well, basic origin. Less about fancy display, more about primal comfort and authentic expression. And who makes these unique pieces? Traditionally, it's the women from the nomadic Qashqai, Lori, and Kurdish peoples, mainly in the Zagros Mountains of southwestern Iran. This skill, this tradition, passed down through generations, making each rug a real piece of living heritage.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because the story of Gabbeh rugs isn't just about looks or feel. It's deeply, deeply tied to a specific way of life. It's about survival, about tradition. These rugs come straight from the nomadic lifestyle of the Lori and Qashqai tribes. For centuries, they've moved across the Zagros Mountains in southwestern Iran. Stunning landscapes, but often harsh, right? Imagine that life, constant movement, following the seasons, the flocks. The challenges must have been immense. Extreme temperatures, rough ground, needing shelter you could carry. And for these tribes, weaving wasn't just a hobby. It was essential, a vital skill, part of their economy, and importantly, a way to express themselves. It was a skill passed down carefully among the women, mother to daughter, grandmother to granddaughter, generation after generation. And here's the really beautiful part, almost spiritual, you could say. Each rug became this intensely personal thing, a canvas for the weaver's thoughts. It wasn't like following a strict pattern book from a workshop, no. It was about the weaver putting her immediate thoughts, her dreams, what happened that day, the animals she saw, the landscape around her.
Even her feelings, joys, sorrows, right into the knots. This intimate, subjective, personal aspect, that's what makes every single Gabbeh unique, a one-of-a-kind work of art, a tangible piece of someone's inner life, like a woven diary.
Absolutely. And that deep connection to their origins directly explains their practical side and how they later evolved. The rugged terrain, the often harsh climate of the Zagros, these weren't just scenery, they shaped the Gabbeh. It explains why they're so incredibly thick. That pile wasn't for show, it was crucial insulation, essential warmth for nomadic life. Imagine bedding down with just a few layers between you and the cold, maybe damp, ground. That dense wool was their protection, a thermal barrier against icy nights, their portable warmth, and their traditional designs. A direct reflection of that simple, close-to-nature life. You see basic geometric patterns, motifs inspired by the world around them, the rhythm of daily life. Think about those stylized shapes. A triangle might be a mountain, a zigzag a river, maybe a diamond shape is a bird, or an eye symbol to ward off evil. Animals like goats, camels essential for survival, often appear in these simplified, almost abstract forms, woven with affection, respect. They weren't just decorations, they were symbols of their world, their beliefs, their hopes. Now looking at how they evolved into modern markets. That's a fascinating story of tradition meeting contemporary taste. For ages, they were pretty much unknown outside their tribal communities, seen only by those who met the tribes. The change really started in the 1980s thanks to an Iranian artist, Parviz Tanavuli. Tanavuli was a real pioneer, appreciated Iranian folk art, had an avant-garde perspective. He began experimenting with these humble nomadic rugs, focusing specifically on Gabbehs dyed with vegetable dyes. His innovation wasn't just about looks, it was about elevating them, showing their artistic potential beyond just utility, bringing a new sophistication to the colors using natural dyes. And this artistic exploration caught the eye of Ghulamreza Zelenvari. Zelenvari saw the potential and translated Tanavuli's vision into, well, a commercial success. He started producing these rugs in larger quantities. But, and this is crucial, he did it while respecting tradition. He employed the actual Qashqai and Lori weavers who'd been making them for centuries. It wasn't about mass production losing quality, it was about scaling authentic craft. Zelenvari's genius was increasing output and introducing new patterns, refining the color palette, still using natural dyes that really resonated with a wider audience, especially in Europe. At that time, there was this growing desire in Europe for authentic, handmade things with character, for folk art that told a story, for natural, minimalist looks. Gabbehs, with their thick pile, earthy colors, abstract designs, they fit perfectly. A warm contrast to machine-made carpets. Their arrival really influenced European rug markets. It was a big shift. These humble rugs gained international fame, transforming from tribal essentials into sought-after art for modern homes. And today, Gabbeh rugs continue that journey. They're still mostly made in the same region, the Zagros Mountains, still using those traditional techniques, hand knotting, often on horizontal looms in the same natural materials, mostly local hand-spun wool and plant dyes. But they also reflect modern design taste beautifully. The core simplicity is there, the abstract feel. But contemporary Gabbehs might have cleaner, more monochromatic color fields, maybe bolder, almost graphic motifs. They might use more blues, grays, subtle pastels to fit modern interiors. But they never lose that rustic charm, that unmistakable thick pile. This evolution keeps them relevant, keeps them appealing in today's design world.
So we've established it's more than just a rug. It's really seen as a unique work of art.
Yeah.
But what is it exactly that lifts them to that level, sets them apart from just functional textiles? It's not only the quality materials or the handmaking, though obviously those are vital. It's this deep sense that each one tells a story, a really personal story. It's like the rug itself is whispering the knotter's tale, a direct line to the weaver's inner world. And that's a key difference from many other Persian carpets, which often stick to very precise, inherited patterns. Designs passed down, sometimes needing huge technical skill and sticking to the rules. Making a Gabbeh, though, is fundamentally subjective. It's individual. The weaver, almost always a woman, isn't just copying a design. She's putting her own thoughts, her dreams, her daily life, what she sees around her, her feelings, right into the knots and colors. That personal touch, that freedom, that's what makes it special. You can almost feel the personality, the lived experience of the artisan in every thread. Makes each one totally irreplaceable.
That brings up a really good question, though. How do they manage to get such personal narratives across using abstract designs? It really shows the power of simplifying things, artistically speaking. Gabbeh patterns are typically abstract or highly stylized. Instead of big, detailed scenes, you get geometric shapes, often simple, bold, almost naive. Diamonds, squares, triangles, lines that twist and turn. Then you have those charming, almost childlike animal figures, a simple goat or camel, capturing the essence, not the exact look. You see human figures too, sometimes alone, sometimes in groups, and even scenes from daily life, a stylized tent, a campfire, maybe a few sheep. And it's absolutely true, no two Gabbehs are ever identical, even if they use similar motifs. That variation, the subtle hand of the individual artist, that's what makes them so special. And honestly, it adds a lot to their value, their desirability. It's a celebration of imperfection, really, a rejection of factory sameness. Now, color-wise, traditionally, Gabbeh rugs are dominated by these deep, earthy tones. Think of that rich spectrum. Deep browns like soil and mountains, soulful reds from madder root, vibrant sun-baked yellows evoking desert light. All these colors meticulously come from natural plant dyes. It's a lot of work, but it connects the rug so intimately to its environment. And a key characteristic of these naturally dyed Gabbehs, something really fascinating to look for, is that the color is often variegated. It's called a brush. It means within one block of color, you'll see these subtle, gentle shifts and variations, softly different colored zones or bands. Now, this isn't a mistake. It's a hallmark of natural dyes and hand spinning. The dye lot might vary slightly, or the wool takes the dye unevenly. You just can't get that perfectly flat, uniform look you get with chemical dyes. And that very imperfection, that ebb and flow of color, is exactly what makes them so beautiful and sought after by collectors. It mimics a natural landscape, a sunset. However, as Gabbeh is adapted to modern tastes and entered the global market, you will also find contemporary ones with a wider range of colors. These might include vibrant blues, often from indigo, lush greens like spring meadows, even rich purples. And while these new colors cater to modern design trends and offer a fresh look, the rugs still keep those core principles, simplicity, abstract form, and that signature thick pile. The fact that they can embrace new colors while staying true to their roots really speaks to their adaptability and timeless appeal.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit now. From the art and history to the actual physical stuff, what makes these rugs so tough, so resilient, and so nice to touch. The main material, as you'd guess from nomadic shepherds living with their flocks, is wool. The Qashqai nomads, being incredibly skilled shepherds, had plenty of high-quality wool right there from their own sheep. And this wasn't just any wool. It was typically, and this is really important, hand-spun. Right? The hand-spinning process is vital. It's not just about looks. It gives the fibers a unique quality. Unlike machine-spun wool, which is usually uniform and tightly twisted, hand-spun wool keeps more of its natural lanolin and has this inherent irregularity in thickness. That irregularity creates subtle variations in the pile, adding hugely to the rug's characteristic texture and its amazing, almost springy resilience. It's a big part of why they're so durable, why they have that distinct organic feel, and why you get that lovely brush effect with the colors we mentioned. And just like the traditional colors, all the vibrant shades in an authentic Gabbeh come from natural plant dyes, a commitment to purity that grounds them even more in nature. And how are they actually made? It's a meticulous, painstaking process of hand knotting. This isn't a machine churning them out. It's countless hours of skilled handwork. Knot by knot, row by row. Each knot is tied by hand onto the warp threads, building up that dense pile. It's not quick. A single Gabbeh can take months, maybe even a year or more, depending on the size and how dense the knots are. That really contributes to their quality and how long they last. And here's an interesting detail you often see. Gabbeh rugs frequently have no fringes. Instead, the kilim ends, that flat woven bit at each end before the pile starts, like fabric without knots or just tucked in and sewn securely. It gives them this clean, simple finish that emphasizes their raw, natural look. A practical choice for nomads, but it also says a lot about their unpretentious style.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here is how that choice of material, the high-quality hand-spun wool and the hand-knotting technique, combine to give Gabbehs their famous softness and their impressive durability. Yes, Gabbeh rugs are genuinely celebrated for being soft. It's not by chance. It comes directly from that top-quality, often hand-spun wool you mentioned. Plus, they're characteristically thick, plush pile. Imagine sinking your toes into something wonderfully dense, almost bouncy, totally yielding. That's the Gabbeh feeling. The natural lanolin in the wool also adds to the softness and gives it a subtle sheen. And even though we use the word coarse to describe them, meaning rustic and simple, these rugs are actually known for being exceptionally high quality and very durable. Their thick pile is key here. It helps them stand up to a surprising amount of foot traffic. The sheer density of the wool and the firm knots create a resilient surface that handles daily life well without showing wear too quickly. Think of it like a natural shock absorber for your floor. However, to really make them last, to keep that beauty and soft feel for generations, they're probably best used in areas with moderate traffic, like a cozy living room, a quiet study, a family room, or a bedroom, rather than maybe a main entryway or a super high-traffic hallway. That way, you enjoy the plushness without stressing the fibers too much. Proper maintenance is also really key to keeping your Gabbeh looking great for decades. Regular vacuuming is essential. It gets rid of dust and dirt. But here's a crucial tip for wool rugs, especially Gabbehs. Never use a vacuum with a beater bar, that rotating brush. Great for digging into synthetic carpets, but for the soft, natural wool fibers of a Gabbeh, it can literally tear, pull, and tangle them. Causes frizziness, pilling, wears them out faster. Think gentle suction, not aggressive scrubbing. Use a plain suction head or lift the beater bar way up. And blotting spills, quickly working from the outside in, is also vital. These rugs are truly built to last generations. A real testament to the quality of traditional handmade construction and the weaver's skill. They're basically heirlooms in the making.
Okay, so we've covered their history, their art, how they're made. Now let's bring this deep dive right into your own home.
Cool.
How can these rustic beauties, with all that history and character, actually fit into modern decor? The answer is, maybe surprisingly, really, really well. With their distinct plush texture and those wonderfully warm, grounding colors, Gabbeh rugs just have this knack for instantly adding a touch of rusticity, comfort, and this undeniable sense of organic warmth to almost any space. They bring an authentic, handmade feel that contrasts beautifully with sleeker, modern furniture, adds depth and soul to minimalist looks. And their simple, abstract designs make them incredibly versatile. Because they don't have overly ornate, specific, or rigid patterns, they kind of adapt. They can complement a huge variety of interior styles. Whether your home is traditional, with classic wood furniture, or crisp and modern, minimalist, or even cozy bohemian or rustic farmhouse, a Gabbeh can provide that perfect hit of texture and color. It adds warmth and personality without taking over. It's like they just know how to fit in and enhance things, becoming a foundation that ties it all together.
Right. And if we connect that to the bigger picture of home function, Gabbeh rugs offer more than just looks. Their thickness and dense wool pile mean they provide excellent sound absorption. This makes them a fantastic choice, often overlooked, for rooms with hard floors, concrete, tile, hardwood, where echoes can be a problem. Imagine a big, open-plan living area or a bedroom with high ceilings. A thick Gabbeh can really dampen noise, reduce echo, and make the space feel much more peaceful, acoustically pleasant, and just generally more inviting. It's a subtle but powerful benefit. Now, when it comes to placing your Gabbeh rug in your space, there are a few practical things to think about to get the most out of it, aesthetically and functionally. You'll want to consider the rug's size relative to the room, its specific colors, and the overall flow of its design. A large Gabbeh, for instance, with those big color fields and subtle motifs, can be a stunning centerpiece in a living room. It can ground the whole seating area. You might put the front lays of your sofa and chairs on the rug to define the conversation zone, or even place all the furniture entirely on it for a grander feel. Smaller Gabbehs, though, are great for adding focused spots of interest and warmth. They're lovely in hallways, adding softness and muffling sound, or wonderfully plush beside a bed for a soft landing in the morning. Their rich, warm, often earthy colors naturally work beautifully with neutral or earth-toned interiors, creams, grays, muted greens. Creates a calm, inviting vibe. But don't be afraid to use them in a more colorful room either. They can provide a really striking textural contrast. Imagine a deep red Gabbeh against a cool blue wall. makes the space pop. The key is always for the rug to complement, not compete with, other things in the room. Let its unique character shine through. And finally, to really make sure your Gabbeh lasts for generations, proper care is absolutely essential. Beyond regular vacuuming, remembering no beater bar, and blotting spills quickly with a clean white cloth, no harsh chemicals. Professional cleaning is highly recommended for deep cleans, maybe every few years, depending on traffic. This is important because the wrong cleaning methods, especially for wool and natural dyes, can cause big problems. Like color run, where the dyes bleed, or irreversible damage to the wool fiber's matting, stiffness. You also want to avoid placing your Gabbeh in direct, harsh sunlight for long periods. It can cause those beautiful natural colors to fade unevenly over time. Similarly, avoid damp areas like bathrooms or basements. Moisture can lead to mold or mildew, which can really damage the rug structure and isn't healthy. And one last tip, often overlooked but really important. Always use a good quality rug pad underneath. A good pad protects the rug from wear by absorbing impact, keeps it from slipping, provides extra cushion, and helps it last longer by letting air circulate.
So, after learning all about their unique art, their fascinating history, how they're made, here's a really practical question many of you might have. Are Gabbeh rugs a worthwhile investment? And what does all this rich background actually mean for someone thinking about buying one? Well, while the price can definitely vary depending on size, age, older, well-kept ones can be rarer, more valuable, and condition, they're generally seen as a very good investment. And that's not just about how they look, it's about their quality, their durability, their unique place in folk art. A well-made, authentic Gabbeh is built to last, seriously. We're talking something that can serve your family for generations, become a treasured heirloom, and its value might even increase over time. So it's not just a beautiful thing for your home, but potentially a tangible asset that tells a story.
Yeah, but that brings up an absolutely critical question, doesn't it? Crucial for any buyer. How do you make sure you're getting an authentic Gabbeh? And maybe more importantly, how do you avoid the knockoffs that, well, unfortunately, are out there? Identifying a genuine one is key to making sure your investment is sound and that you're really getting the piece of art and heritage you want. Okay, first things first. Genuine Gabbeh rugs are always hand-knotted. Always. You can often tell by looking closely at the back. Hand-knotted rugs show slightly irregular individual knots that are part of the design. Machine-made rugs have perfectly uniform, often stiff patterns on the back. They're typically made from high-quality, often hand-spun wool that gives them the unique texture, resilience, and softness we've talked about. The design, as we've discussed, should be simple and abstract. Bold geometric shapes, maybe those charming minimalist figures. You won't see super intricate, fine details or perfect industrial symmetry. The rug should also have that characteristic thick, plush pile, feel dense and yielding. And the color palette should be warm, earthy, from natural dyes. You might even spot that subtle abrash, those gentle color shifts within a single area, which is a big clue for natural dyes and hand spinning. A mark of authenticity. Now, for the important beware list. Our sources specifically warn about knockoff Gabbehs coming from quite a few countries. This includes places like Morocco, Egypt, Greece, Turkey, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, among others. These fakes are often sold to tourists or online as the real deal, sometimes with misleading labels. The key red flags for these cheaper imitations are pretty clear. First, they're usually not hand-knotted. They might be machine-made or have a really loose, poor-quality weave that just won't last. Second, they almost always use chemical dyes. These can look way too bright, almost garish, unnaturally uniform. They lack the depth and subtle variation of natural dyes. Chemical dyes also tend to bleed if they get wet and can fade really harshly over time. Plus, these fakes are typically made with lower quality wool or even wool mixed with cotton. It just won't have the same durability, softness, or lifespan as a real Gabbeh made from pure, hand-spun, nomadic wool. The absolute most crucial advice here is always, always buy from a reputable source. Someone who can give you details, guarantee authenticity, and stands behind their rugs with a good return policy and genuine expertise.
Right. Building on that vital advice about finding a reputable source, if you're interested in exploring Gabbeh rugs or any fine Oriental carpet, companies like Babak's Oriental Carpets really show the kind of expertise and service you should look for. It's a great real-world example of a family business built on deep generational knowledge and a real passion for these textiles. The story is pretty amazing. Dr. Hisham Rizwani built this honorable reputation over 35 years in Graz, Austria. Then he brought all that knowledge and experience over to Victoria and Vancouver in Canada, and the legacy continues. His son, Babak Rizwani, now runs the Victoria showroom. It's at 919 Fort Street. Babak literally grew up in the carpet business, steeped in it his whole life. And he specializes in Persian carpets, including, of course, these magnificent gabbehs. You can tell it's not just selling for them, it's a family passion, a dedication to preserving this art form.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating, what sets businesses like Babak's apart, is that their dedication goes way beyond just selling. It's a deep commitment to studying Oriental carpets, academically and practically. So Babak isn't just a salesperson, he's a genuine guide, an educator, and he's always happy to share his knowledge with people who are interested. He can explain the historical significance, how motifs evolved, the social context behind them. He can get into the details of hand knotting techniques, the differences between tribal and city knots, how looms affect things. He can also give really valuable insights into their investment value, what factors matter for appreciation, and discuss the overall quality you should look for in Persian and other Oriental carpets. This focus on educating the customer is priceless. It empowers you, the buyer, to make informed choices and truly appreciate the artistry and heritage behind each rug. And beyond that deep knowledge, reputable dealers like Babak's offer a whole range of services that support you long-term, showing their commitment to satisfaction and the rugs themselves. For instance, they offer worldwide shipping, so these pieces can find a home anywhere, handled properly. They also provide essential, specialized repair and cleaning services. That's crucial for keeping your investment pristine, whether it's delicate reweaving, fixing fringes, or a deep, gentle wash that protects the natural dyes and wool. If you want to know what your existing rugs are worth, they offer professional appraisal services. Plus, a trade-in and purchasing counter, which is handy. They usually provide detailed info sheets on their carpets too, transparent details about origin, materials, history. And locally, things like free delivery and no-obligation trials are wonderful. Lets you actually see the rug in your space, in your light, before you commit. All these services just highlight the huge value of working with true professionals. They support you not just when buying, but in maintaining and understanding your rug for years to come. #tagouttrout.
Wow, we've really taken a panoramic and I think incredibly detailed deep dive into the world of Gabbeh rugs today. We've uncovered their centuries-old nomadic history, appreciated their unique personal artistry, understood their practical uses in a modern home, and even explored their value as an investment. It's so clear now, isn't it? They're much more than just floor coverings. They're woven stories, tangible pieces of cultural heritage, amazing works of folk art. So what does all this mean for you? Hopefully you feel much more informed now, more confident, maybe with a deeper appreciation for these beautiful, soulful pieces. Perhaps this deep dive has even inspired you to think about adding one to your own collection, knowing the rich story you'd be bringing into your home.
Yeah, and this whole exploration into the Gabbeh, it does raise a really interesting, almost philosophical question for all of us, doesn't it? When you consider that each Gabbeh rug is this unique, deeply personal expression of its weaver, reflecting their story, their life, their world, how does knowing that maybe change the way we look at other handmade objects in our homes? Or even just the everyday items we surround ourselves with? It really makes you pause, makes you think about the hidden narratives, the human touch, the untold stories embedded in the things we cherish and choose to live with. What other silent stories might be waiting to be discovered, right there in plain sight?